Hi, hello, good morning. Today's class, let us begin the chapter from geography part, that is resources and development. So, first, let us begin our learning with the discussion about introduction to the chapter. So, from the introduction, here the chapter consists two parts. Number one, resources, and number two, development. So, this is the first chapter from our geography session, that is Contemporary India Part 2. We may think why this resources is important, why we need to study about development. Is there any connectivity between resources and development? Yes, absolutely. There is a link, there is a connectivity between resources and development. For example, now I brought pen, I brought notebook, I brought textbook to explain or to make you to get a concept to learn for today's class. So, pen, notebook, and textbook, these are the essential things which I used to complete the task. So, pen, notebook, and textbook and others, these are all the supported things or the items which made me to make successful class to present. Similarly, in our day to day life, every person, every individual, they use lot of things or materials and etc. After using things, materials, the individuals, they used to involve in a kind of work. This work done by individuals by using some things, materials, and others. Finally, it used to give a kind of output. Output in the sense they are going to get satisfaction. Satisfaction. So, for example, when the person feels hunger, when the person feels hunger, he or she need to search for the essential groceries to prepare food. To prepare food, again they need what we call it as um, uh, various other materials like gas or uh, we can call it as talcs and so on so for burning purpose, and along with that we need utensils and we need time, we need vegetables, and finally the food is going to be prepared. Then the prepared food, when the person goes on eating, then he is going to feel satisfied from what the problem he felt. This is common in general example. Similarly, various materials we are going to notice from our nature. Nature is the mother which supplies, which provides various materials which are required. So these materials we are going to use in our daily life in order to make various products timely, which makes us to complete a task or complete a work. These materials, in general, we call it as resources. Now, what definition we, uh, we can quote about definitions or definition? Resources are uh, what we call it as anything, anything or everything, everything which we find in our surrounding. These uh, things or materials are used in order to satisfy our needs. Once again, I repeat, we can quote a definition for resource. Resources are materials or things or anything or everything which we find in our surrounding. These things are used in order to satisfy our needs. They are defined, they are called as resources. So example for example, as I told earlier, this pen, notebook, textbook, and other materials which I brought to complete the chapter or to complete my explanation, they are my resources. Similarly, we quoted one point here, surrounding, that is nature. So we can list out rocks, soil, then forest, wildlife, then air, then minerals, fossil fuel, and etc. These are all examples. So other than that, we can also point out the other things which we use from our surrounding. They are also the example for resources. Then, continuing the definition for resource, we need to understand clearly our, I quoted here, our means the center role played in using all the resource, it is by man only. Man. So, man is the most important resource. Man himself is a resource. He is quoted or he is stated as a human resource. That's why all the things, materials which we find in our surroundings, it is going to satisfy the needs of human being when man plays center part, or he is the central figure, one who is going to make use of the other things in the nature. Then man himself cannot use the things directly. Along with man, it requires technology, it requires institutions. So that's why continuing this continuing this definition for about resources, let me explain. For example, here anything or everything which we find in our surrounding, from our surrounding I brought rock. We brought rock. Now we need granite. We need granite during the time of our house construction. That's why we brought rock. So rock itself cannot be installed to our floor. That's why it need to be given proper size, proper polish, and other task, so that it 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 can encourage the beauty of our floor as well as our house. That's why we go on adopting, bringing the technology where we can able to cut rocks into different pieces as per our preferred size. And we can also use technology for giving proper polish, shine to the rock, so that it can uh, uh, encourage the expected uh, result from the rock which we try to install for our floor. Then along with this, even institutions, I told institution, it may be uh, like the person one who is going to involve in extracting the rock, and they are called as laborers. And from the place where the granite deposits are going to be observed, or they are going to be found, from there it needs to be brought to the other place through transportation, and then the other things. So these are, we call it as institutions. Then all the things and all the materials are not going to be called as resources. All the things and all the materials, as I told earlier, anything or everything which we find in our surrounding, which are used in order to satisfy our needs, they are going to be called as resources. Here continuing, all the resources or all the materials and all things are not going to be called as resources. Then what it need to be consist? So the materials need to be technologically accessible, technologically accessible and economically feasible and culturally acceptable. Let me clarify. Let me clarify. So resources, all the resources are all the things, all the materials in a nature, they are not going to be called as resources. Resources are only called to the materials which are technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable. For example, any material, any material which we find in our nature, it is to be supportive for various conversions. Conversions are modifications. For example, after chopping a tree, after chopping a tree, what we are expecting from the tree? Directly timber. So again, timber is going to be made into thin sheets, and even it is used for making various wood products. It makes clear that tree, after chopping, it can be converted into timber, and timber can be converted into sheets, and sheets can be converted into various wooden products. It makes clear that there is possible for the material to involve in conversion or modification. To convert or to modify, it requires technology. So there is the involvement of technology in modifying the uh, material which we find in the form of tree or in any other such materials. So it need to be technologically accessible, then economically feasible. Economically in the sense, the material which is converted, it need to be um, economically in the sense, it need to be available for the utilization at lower or at accessible price, lower or accessible price. For example, African mines, they are very rich in uh, diamond, and even they are very rich in gold deposits. Now, extraction of diamond and extraction of gold, it is not easier. It requires lot of uh, uh, what we call it as manual power or human resource, technology, and even etc. So the raw gold and diamond which are extracted directly, it is not used in the form of jewelry. It is going to be involved through the process of technology in modifying, in converting the variety of jewelry, and then directly it is going to reach to the people. So as per the quality and as per the uh, weight, so the gold is going to be given a price. So as per the price,